Previously on Fish Chunk. I pulled the blue shiny from a mystery box, blatted 20,000 goblins, put a good dent in both the magic and farming grinds, and began fire making via bonfires with my main account for some side content. And with that, we begin. You might think, with this dialogue box promising of papaya trees and other exotic fruit as I hit level 57 farming, that I would by now be champing at the bit to explore other regions of Gielinor. Instead though, as the account progresses, I'm finding myself more and more fond of this kind of gameplay. Even the annoyance of players picking up the sacks of potatoes that I absent-mindedly left on the ground for too long while juggling inventory space barely even registers anymore. The townsfolk of North Ardee are getting pretty fond of me too. And who could resist waking up every day to the idyllic scenes of cows grazing in the fields? Nevertheless, I did promise a chunk roll this episode, and a chunk roll ye shall have, so let's press on and spread our wings a little, shall we? It's a small milestone, but this Beekeeper random marks the end of the random event outfits for me, leaving just the stale baguette to go on the collection log. Followed back to back by another Beekeeper, for a lamp and some flax. Although inventory space is always at a premium on here, I'm going to hang on to these until my next Leo random so I can deposit them, just in case we land ourselves a spinning wheel in the future. In the end, it would take about a week for that Leo to appear, during which time I gained a number of levels, like 52 prayer for smite, my last accessible one in the prayer book for now, 73 strength, 50 magic, and 54 cooking. And there he is. It's just the outfit pieces, flax and noted ranor weed from farmer drops that I'm depositing this time. Speaking of randoms, this was quite a dry spell in terms of mazes for me as well. Not a single one on the way from 57 to 58 farming. And of course, being the trigger for 3 different random events, the mysterious old man can be quite a troll as well. 2 weeks without seeing one, and then he gives me epoxy emerald that I haven't got the space to hold on to. Followed by a mime, and a kebab. At least that can be used for compost.
Technologia!
Thanks, Jagex. Unlike a sapphire. Or ATGP. Fortunately, this ritual offering of fish chunks from these kind penguins seemed to do the trick, because 22 days since the previous one, the streak was finally broken. Bringing in 240 air runes to just 50 water, 30 earth and 130 fire runes. Yes, I had to double and triple check those figures myself. By far the most imbalanced maze random I've seen. Not that it matters much though, because it has taken so long for this random to come around that, in the time being, Jagex had both introduced and subsequently rebalanced an entirely new spell on the standard spellbook, bringing with it an innovative and frankly absurd training method for the account. Now, originally, Monster Inspect wasn't much to write home about. Without access to cosmic runes, I couldn't even cast the damn thing. The following week, however, Jagex decided to scrap the cosmic rune requirement, changing the tariff to 2 mind and 2 body runes instead. And this, of course, piqued my interest. But to see if it really could be the answer to my magic woes, I'd have to consult an old fan favourite of the series. Welcome back to the show, over-engineered Spreadsheet Chan. In response to yet more feedback, I'll try to keep this one brief. Previously, to unlock any magic experience from mind runes, we had to pay an air rune tax associated with all the strike spells. At 30.5 experience per cast, however, Monster Inspect allows me to get the same XP per mind rune as I would have done from Water Strike without touching a single elemental rune. The buff then comes from being able to use those air, water, earth or fire runes on other spells, while still getting a decent return from all the mind runes I'll be stacking up from farmers. I faffed around with a few options on the spreadsheet, like Crumble Undead for the highest base XP per Chaos rune I could obtain, but in the end the winning formula was minds and bodies on Monster Inspect, water, earth and remaining body runes on Weaken, plus air, fire and chaos runes on Firebolt. With this combination I was able to hit, on average, 520 XP in runes per hour from farmers. Trash, for sure, but 20% higher than the trash I was getting from goblins, while providing a further source of seeds and being significantly more AFK to kill. That's a big win in my books. I even got some benefit out of Monster Inspect for its intended use as well. Remember how I said in a previous video that skeletons in the Temple of Ikov dungeon had a 35% weakness to air? Well, either the wiki was mistaken, or Jagex changed something, because according to the spell, it's earth weakness that they have instead. But anyway, all this new tech means I won't be spending too much time on the side of the Fishing Guild anymore. By this point I've dispatched 30,000 goblins, which, to address the handful of comments I've had about it on every video so far, isn't, in fact, a new record dry streak on the champion scroll, since you can't receive those as drops until you've hit 32 quest points. As we wave goodbye to the green fellows then, it's time to introduce Cow Inspect meta. This kind of emergent stupidity is why I love chunk accounts. Starting from level 51, it's just over 1,150 casts of Monster Inspect, plus 500 weakens and 250 firebolts until 55 magic. And with a whole field of willing candidates right next to the farmer, I know who will be inspecting for the foreseeable future. With the help of random events, we really start zooming at this point. Here's a lamp from Leo, followed by some more consideration of our bovine friends. And another lamp, getting us to level 52 magic. Followed by yet another maze random. Shout out, by the way, to Purple for telling me about the option to favourite worlds on the world list, fixing them in place, so I don't have to scroll every time. All this time spent in the field has got me wondering though about the quality of Ardoin's building trade. Can someone please explain to me how on earth this was the right solution when joining the fence to the stone wall? OCD successfully triggered, I headed back to the North Farmer spawn to calm down, where I hit 75 strength and 82 combat. A side benefit of switching from goblins to farmers for our runes is the fresh influx of allotment seeds that it brings as well, meaning we're back to watermelon, strawberries and sweet corn wherever possible. We also finally have a use for some of the herbs that the farmers drop. Regular ironmen might want to look away at this point, but did you know you can use higher level herbs to make super compost? It certainly came in handy here, having ended up just a few watermelons short of completing the bin. This batch I've enhanced with 2 dwarf weeds and an avanto. But other ones I've used include cadentines and qualms. Either way, the next round of strawberries seem to enjoy their designer compost too, giving us level 59 farming. The target levels are getting really rather close now. One little side goal that I have been quite keen to complete before finishing up the chunk though is obtaining an easy treasure trail casket. You may remember that there are 2 different steps I can access in my current chunks. One in the small building north of the fishing contest site in Hemminster, and the other in the guardhouse in North Ardee. After an accident or 2 with juggled clues and maze randoms however, I'm only just up to 2 completable steps on the ground again, and knowing that I'll be forced to give up one when sitting through the next maze random, I decided that this was my best chance to try and send the 2-step dream. Thanks by the way to Joeitja50 who did some of the strategizing for this on the last video. Fingers crossed. But, womp womp, not this time. So I decided to console myself with a spot more cow inspection. And another fish chunk offering. Thank you Longnewt. Now, since I reached level 51 magic, I have for a little while been doing my bob fishing randoms again, because of that 50% chance to receive 650 magic instead of fishing experience. The first one though, and the second, both gave me the wrong skill. Thankfully though, we lucked out on the third. Not much more than a lamp would give me in all honesty, but every little helps. Anyway, I promised a chunk roll, so time to put in the hours and get the last few levels finished off. There's 53 magic, 60 farming, 54 magic, the obligatory hit points level, 55 prayer, all regular bones by the way. I also finally realised that the bears, which occasionally wander into the chunk, have a fire weakness, making them far better than skeletons. 67 attack, bringing with it 85 combat and 600 total level. And there's 55 magic. Fortunately, the guards took pity on me and gave me a nature rune fairly quickly to complete our high alchemy task. Here's the total kill count in case you were interested. 30,500 goblins, nearly 19,400 farmers, and 5,300 guards, plus a load of lamps and maze randoms. And that leaves just the farming level. A sneaky level 56 cooking, and there we have it, 61 farming. Now just to grow the snape grass itself. Ta-da! Now, since I'm not exactly sure what's going to come next, I'm just going to leave these in the ground, in their harvestable state, as, in case I haven't said it enough times already, my inventory is rather cramped. Especially so at the moment, since, while the last few crops have been growing, I've gone around gathering up a bunch of items that ideally I'll be able to throw into the bank, should I finally get access to one. Let's look at the odds of that happening. Chunk 3 would obviously be the best case scenario, a bank right next to the farming patches with no real grinds to complete either. Less favourable is number 4. It does still have a bank, plus access to zombies for a much better source of bait when trying to get into the fishing guild, but on the downside it triggers a thieving grind and 85 farming, thanks to the toadstool seed on the Master Farmer's loot table. Poop emoji for you. 6 is a bit crap as well, 87 fletching and 99 firemaking with a bronze axe. Not so fun. 1, 5 and 7 are all pretty short though, or free chunks. Worst case scenario though is number 2. That's Moss Giants, meaning 85 farming without a bank, plus a load of surprise grinds on the side. So onto the roll. And it's a decent one. Maple trees, and a cuppa. To which I'll be adding a firemaking task, as I did with the last chunk too, thanks to my main's bonfire lighting facilities. The bronze axe comes quickly enough from a gobbo, and it's time to explore. There's the pillory, and a crate to purchase rotten tomatoes. The hops patch that's frustratingly just out of reach. The maple trees, which trigger our only levelling goal for the chunk. Another broken cart, a popular feature around here. And Sir Galahad's house. You'll notice that I've crossed back into the coal truck chunk here, but since this side was locked behind a level 20 agility shortcut, we haven't been able to visit it until now. There's the cup of tea served and enjoyed, my kind of diary task. But with nothing else of interest in his house, it's on to woodcutting. Regarding lamps, I'm pretty safe putting a few into agility for now, just until we have some more direction with the next chunk roll. The only thing to be wary of as a future headache is the rope swing to the Moss Giant Island in West Brimhaven at level 10 agility, but that's a minimum of 3 chunk rolls away, so we're safe for now. There's the first level, 31 firemaking. Followed by 42 woodcutting. Now, these events are popping up because I'm woodcutting on my main, while lighting and tending to the bonfire for my chunk account to firemake on. And yes, in hindsight, this was fairly dumb. I'm adding this bit in post while editing all the clips together because it simply didn't occur to me at the time. So what's the problem? Well, I suppose that because I'm able to participate in these events early, so to speak, I am then obligated to collect whatever I can from the forestry events as well at this stage. Those being the sturdy beehive parts, petal garland, fox whistle, and golden egg. I haven't got access to thread yet, so no pheasant outfit, and the rest requires the vendor, so those will be unlocked most likely when I get into Sears Village. I know it seems obvious now, and honestly I can't really explain why I didn't think of it when bringing the main account over, especially having already greenlogged forestry once on that account, and a good part of it again on my UIM. Since at this stage I've already rolled the next chunk though, I suppose I'll just have to add these items onto its task list, with my apologies for any breach of chunk ethics. So, back to the present, there's level 43, 44, and 45. Just the rest of firemaking to go. There's level 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, and 45. All those extra logs have got me to 49 woodcutting as well. There's that all-important maple log. And burnt. All tasks complete. So it's back to the map. And nothing much to add this time. We have the road towards the Feminic province entering the mix, plus Sears Village for yet another route towards 85 farming. That one's coming sooner or later, I tell you. Well, rip. What was that thing about foreshadowing? Looks like the fake UIM Xtreme One Chunk farming life isn't done with us just yet. Let's unpick things a little. According to the chunk picker, we have the following tasks. 20 attack, to wield a mithril weapon, which we've already done, thanks to the mystery box. 10 defense, to equip an item of black armor. And 85 farming to grow a toadstool seed. For best in slot gear, we'll also need a mithril spear, a steel med helm, a black square shield, and a magic staff, all obtained as drops from Moss Giants, plus grey boots and a blue hat, bought from Razalo the Wandering Merchant. There's an elite diary task, but that's just to grow the Torstal seed, so a freebie. And for the uniques we'll need a mossy key, a long bone, and the infamous curved bone. So, kill mossies, plant stuff. But there's a snag. All the way back in episode 1, I got access to the Temple of Ikov dungeon, which, as we know, contains level 45 armed skeletons, who, unfortunately for me, drop bronze bars at a rate of about 1 in 25. Meanwhile, the Heminster Chunk has an anvil just beside the Ranging Guild, and goblins who can drop hammers. So far this hasn't been a problem. I couldn't get through the gate to reach the skellies and pick up their drops without a Pendant of Lucian, and even if I had enough runes to mage them consistently, I didn't have access to lore runes, meaning no telegrab either, so no bronze bars or smithing for me. With mossies, however, that all changes. They drop both air and lore runes in pretty good supply, so telegrab is back on the cards. With no excuses left then, say hello to smithing. My goal here will be level 49 for a bullseye lantern, the highest requirement for an item using a steel bar. Although bronze is pretty rubbish for experience, the grind shouldn't be too terrible overall, since we can also get iron ore from guards, and steel bars at a pretty decent rate from moss giants themselves. Honestly, I'm quite looking forward to this one. It unlocks some other decent upgrades for the account, like better axes for woodcutting. It means I'm not wasting potential XP by leaving hundreds of steel bars on the ground at the moss giants, and it's a nice distraction to break up the farming grind. Since I haven't got a bank, there's no harm in doing mazes either, since any mithril ore that we might receive from the strange shrine would be noted, and thus unusable. It's not smithing itself that's the problem though, but rather what else it unlocks. Since I now have access to bronze bars, that means I can create thrown weapons, and begin to level my range skill, which, on account of the guild being in Heminster, lands me with my first 99 grind of the account. And as some of you will already know, on the Xtreme rule set, an account's first skill cape will always require a second being levelled to 99 as well, because of the additional prayer bonus on a trimmed skill cape, making it the best in-slot item. A good candidate for this would be firemaking, since I'm just one chunk away from the skill cape for that one as well, but we'll have to see where things go XP-wise. And as if that weren't enough, the Ranging Guild sells both arrowheads and shafts, creating a 75 fletching goal for rune arrows as well. Last but not least, although moss giants drop a good few seeds like watermelons, snapegrass, herbs and limpworts, they're not particularly plentiful, and the drop table misses a few crucial ones as well, like nasturtiums to protect the watermelons from disease. So, given how monumental the farming grind is going to be, and with the Torstal seed already as a task, there is no reason for me to hold off from thieving any longer either. My plan here then is to start pickpocketing from the Master Farmer to plug the gaps in the Moss Giant drop table and supplement their seed supply. I'd also be able to pickpocket from guards as another source of GP. There's also a bunch more best in slot items we're able to smith from steel or buy from the Ranging Guild, like studded leather. And, not to forget, the forestry items that I missed while completing the maple task previously. I have no idea how long all of this is going to take, but with plenty of ways to progress the account over the coming months, and perhaps years, it's good that farming won't be the one thing holding me back. And hey, it could be a lot worse. At least I don't need a beaver pet. So that's where we stand. Over the time I've spent scripting and editing this episode, there hasn't been that much progress to show you. I've mostly just worked my way through the snapegrass seeds, while, as usual, waiting on a Leo random to free up some inventory space for the road ahead. If I end up waiting too long though, it's probably time that I let a few of these stacks go. By the time I can make a crossbow, for instance, I'll already be 99 ranged and have little use for bronze or iron bolts at that stage. Unless we opt for the controversial Phoenix crossbow tech. For those unfamiliar with the item, a Phoenix crossbow is one of very few items in-game that, owing to its use in the Shield of Arav quest, can be drop traded across to an Ironman account. I'm a bit torn on this really. It is an item from outside the chunk, but just as I've interacted with my main to process logs by burning them before I should have been able to, since I don't have a tinderbox or permanent fire, or how I've taken part in forestry events. Bit awkward this one. By chopping the same tree as my main account wearing a forestry kit, The Phoenix crossbow is similarly a way of processing bolts that, as an ironman, I am able to pick up and use within my chunk through a permitted interaction with another account. The difference, I suppose, is that whereas firemaking is just a use interaction, and in forestry it's the event which generates the item within the chunk rather than another player themselves, with the Phoenix crossbow the item originates from outside the chunk and is then smuggled into it by a player. Now, I'm mentioning this all preemptively, since I figured that someone might bring it up in the comments given my stack of bolts and the 99 range task, but to reassure everyone, by default I'm erring against its use. However, with time and Chunk Tech having moved on since the debate first arose with Limpwurt's account when he came across this idea early in his series, I figured it was worth reviving it as a conversation before making any firm decision to drop the bolts. So, I'm open to lobbying either way in the comments section, and would be really interested to hear what you think. With all that out the way, thank you as always for your support of the series, especially those who've come and said hello at the allotment over the past couple of weeks. Your visits really do make my day and add a fun bit of variety to the series. Hope you have a great summer. Fish Chunk, out.